Evidence is critical when something like this happens. Now, sadly, I learnt the hard way, and I did not have any evidence to prove that that 6-foot brick wall jumped out and hit my car rather than the other way around. So I am amending my ways, and I am installing today a dash cam. So I've loose fitted it at the top here. Now, you don't need me to show you that. It really is very self-explanatory. It is merely a 3M mounted, a sticky tape mounted base that goes up against the screen here. The reason I chose this, and this is a Nextbase 522GW. It was, when I bought it a couple of months ago, the top of the range. I think there's a 622 now, but anyway, I bought this for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, as just demonstrated, it is removable. It's got a magnetic clamp on it with the contacts in here, and you can buy these bases separately. So I've got one in the Freelander 2 LR2 for those stateside, and then I've got one here in the LR3 Discovery 3 as well. So depending on which car I'm taking out, it merely slots straight into place, and it grabs its power from the magnetic base, which is great. So anyway, loose, that is up there, and then I've got this loose cable at the moment which merely goes down to a 12-volt power socket. It's annoying, it's dangly, it gets in the way, and not least is that a problem, but also it's split at the end already. My kid's running around in the back of the car. So today's job is to hardwire it. Now, they do Nextbase, courtesy of Halfords, a dash cam hardwire kit, so I'm going to get that open in a second, see what we need to do. Right, so before we start taking the car apart, let's get this box open, have a little look and see what we have inside. Right, get rid of that. Right, requisite instruction manual. I will have a little gander at that in just a second. We have got 2 sets of jumper cables here. Now, we only need to use one, and they are providing 2 different types. Now, standard cars typically ATO-C fuses. Now, these are the standard fuse sizes that you'll be familiar with, certainly on older cars. Some modern fuse boxes have the ATM, I think they're called, mini fuses in here. Either one will work, I suppose. They both provide the same power, but I'll have a little look. Depending on which fuse I take out, I shall use the appropriate one. We've then got the cable that ultimately takes the power to the dash cam, which is great. On the other end, we've got an earthing cable, so I shall mount that to the earth, the frame somewhere in the vehicle, and then, yeah, there we go, one of those will take it in. There is also, a little ferrite core. Now, this is, these clip open. Essentially what you do is you loop the cable through here, the power cable through here. You sort of put it round once, a coil, and then back out again. Stick it no more than about sort of 15-20 centimetres away from the dash cam itself. That is there to reduce any possible electromagnetic frequency essentially leaking out of here and interrupting FM and DAB signals. If you test it and it doesn't need it, then fine, you can leave it out. It's not instrumental to the machine, but ultimately I'm going to stick it in for safety's sake, and we'll see how we get on. So as I mentioned, mounting the actual mount itself was really straightforward. It's just a 3M sticky tab. The loose cable's got to go. That will unclip in just a second, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you the route of the new cabling. It needs to go, and I'm going to tuck it up underneath the headlining between that and the windscreen, and it's going to go along the top there. It's going to come down behind the A pillar. It then goes down behind the dashboard, and ultimately it joins up with the fuse board, which is behind there. So first job, removing the glove box. So removing the glove box on the Discovery 3 is pretty straightforward. After opening it, you'll see you've got these clips at the side here. All you need to do is clip them, pull them down. There's one on each side of the glove box, and hey presto, it will come out and it will reveal behind, there we go, the fuse board that I need to get to. Now, I've got the ATM, the tiny switches, the tiny fuses, so I will grab that jumper and I'm going to find myself a switched circuit. So looking at the fuse that comes with the dash cam, you can see, I think probably on there, where are we, 2 on the top of that. So it's a 2 amp fuse on there. So if it's drawing 2 amps, we need to look at the fuse, the map of the fuse board here, and find a fuse that's supplying at least 2 amps. So every single one of these is at least 5 amps. So I'm surprised there's not going to be anything in the car that's running less than 2 amps. But what I will do, though, is try and match up as neatly as I possibly can. I mean, a 2 amp draw on that, we'll stick it on a 5 amp fuse. It does say in the instructions to max it out at no more than a 20 amp supply for obvious reasons. You don't want to overload it just in case the fuse is faulty for any particular reason. So what I'm looking for is a switched supply. Now, the one I'm going to go for here, for various reasons, is this one here, F36. So that's the fuse number 36, indicating me that it is supplying the parking sensors and the tyre pressure warning system. Now, that is a switch supply. That's something that's not on permanently to the car. So F36, if we look up at the fuse board, right, so F36, looking at it here, if I can see if I can get the light in the right place. Anyway, there we go. Fuse number 36 is that one there. I'm going to get a pair of long nose pliers. You can buy little plastic tools to pull out fuses. I haven't got one to hand, frustrating. I'm sure I've got one in the toolbox somewhere, but long nose pliers will work. We'll pull that one out and I'll try and get the jumper cable in its place. Well, that didn't work. It came out, no problem at all. Sorry for knocking the camera over there, but anyway, that's fuse number 36 that's come out there. Once I've put that 5 amp fuse, which I haven't destroyed, it's still working. Once I've put that back in here, there we go. I will try and get this back in here whilst you can see what's going on. Let's see if I can balance this in here. A little bit awkward to get to, I must tell you, but let's see how we get on. Right, fuse number 36. Let's find the right way to put it up. There we go. Fuse number 36 is now jumped, and we've got the positive feed. So next up now, we've got to find a route for the cable. So I'm not going to take the headlining down entirely. I'm hoping I can just tuck it up in there. But what I will need to do is take out the A-pillar trim in here to try and get the cable down the back. Now, all the other Land Rovers that I've driven, this airbag thing has come off. There we go, that's perfect. If I hold that open and try and get the light on there, we should find, there we go, a little hex piece. Is it a hex in there? No, it's a star bit in there. So I'll go and grab that and we'll get that one off. Right, so this one is a T27 Torx, which is pretty easy to get to. There we go. I'm hoping it should, rather simply, once that's out, you should be able to just pull that loose and it unclips. Wonderful. Now, this here is the pillar airbag. So we don't want to go too near that. But what it does show, I'm hoping, just to give you an idea, I mean this, we can get the light on it, show you what's going on. So there, you can see the white cloth area is the airbag, and then we've got the black tube there that runs down. That's the sunroof drain tube. There is a video on my channel actually showing you how to replace that, or to repair it anyway, on the driver's side, so have a look at that. What I'm going to try and do is get this cable in, feed it down through here, which should ultimately come out underneath here. So let's see how we get on. Right, looking at it, what I have got is a little box here that's not plugged, so I can't pull those cables out. So I'm a bit worried about trying to feed that down through there. I'm not sure whether it's easier going to be to feed it up from the bottom or feed it down from the top, but we'll find out. But first what I need to do is uncoil this cable, plug it into the end and work it along here and down. I think it's probably the first route I'll try, only because I don't want to end up accidentally with 6 feet of additional cable coiling up in the head lining. So we'll start, hopefully, if I can just unwind the cable. We'll start at the top. Here we go, let's get rid of the old one. There we go, that can go down on the floor. And we'll stick that up in there, like so. Feeding this up in the headlining is actually working out pretty straightforward. If I just tuck it up there, there's a little gap that is kind of the perfect size. That's a bit of a result. Anyway, we'll feed that up in the top there, and then once it's a little tight, or taut possibly rather than tight, from this side, I'm hoping that will stay in there for good. If it doesn't, I'll tuck it up after I've finished the job and work something else. Right, let's feed this around the corner of the head lining. There we go. Get this working around. So once that's done, let's see if I can get this in here nice and easily. Right, let's feed this down the back. Now, for Christ's sakes, don't get it in the way of the airbag, because if that airbag ever needs to go off, you'll end up in a whole world of pain with that airbag coming off and the cable possibly restraining it. But we'll see. We also want to avoid, as you can see, but there are some holes here in the bodywork. Let's try and get that in there. There's some holes in the bodywork that the A-pillar will clip into, and that is the bolt hole for the torque screw. Obvious reasons. Don't get the cable in the way of those. See if I can feed this down through to the fuse board. Right, I think what I'm going to do actually is remove this piece here, which appears, possibly, if I'm not getting a little bit overzealous, to just pull out. No, it doesn't. Okay, what I need to do is, I think, remove, let's put that back up there, remove this bottom piece down here. Let's get rid of this and see how we get on there. So let's get rid of this piece down here. Now that will be a T20. Let's get this fella out of here. Now this is the bonnet release catch that we're taking off. That's fine. And then I think this piece here is removable. There we go. And that means I can then pull this one out of here. There we go. And it's just a typical panel fixing. Right, so does that give me any better access? Does that give us any better access to try and feed it through somehow? If I can go through that hole there, it does. It comes out. That's perfect. And then that's also got me one of these mountings here. And there's something that is earthed. That is, yeah, that's steel. I will use one of these holes here, one of these torque screws as the neutral supply as well. So, right, so let's see how we get on. Right, ultimately that there is not going to feed through this hole round to the back of the dashboard. So if I feed these ones through, and then what I think I will do is coil up that little electronic wizardry and try and hide it down inside the A-pillar. So let's feed this one through here. Let's see whether or not it does actually come out the other side. Hang on. Let's see whether it's appearing the other side. Aha! Joy! I can feel it. It's there. There we go. Perfect. That actually worked out remarkably well. So I will, in fact, connect this straight up. At the moment, the ignition is off. Let's get this one connected up. There we go, and that is nice and clean in there. Good. And that is neither too tight nor too loose. That's perfect. There's not a lot of play in there. That's good. The negative side, I'm going to pop it up and stick it under this mounting bolt for the some of the dashboard. And that is pretty straightforward. T25 Torx in there. Oh, that is torqued up nicely. Right, let me swap cameras over. Let's have a look. Right, this one is not budging, so I'm going to stick a great big spanner on it and see if I get a better purchase. There we go. That's a little bit easier. Now this is the weight of the dashboard on this one, so I shall be a little careful with how much I undo that and see whether I can get that underneath it, which I can't right now. Let's have a look. There we go. Now, recognising I'm actually clamping that to the plastic, it's not a problem because the bolt itself will conduct rather nicely. There we go. So that is on there reasonably tight. Now, before I do anything else, a sensible thing to do, of course, is to slip the ignition on and check we've got some power. Right, so if I stick this up here, we've got the ignition in. Let's turn her on. And hey presto, we've got a blue light. And she comes alive. Perfect. Let's turn it off. Key out. Bit of electricity still in the system, probably coming through. It should turn off within a few seconds. There we go. Hey presto, right, tidying time then. Let's get that cable management sorted out. Right, back on the left hand side here, I've just fed these cables up to the bottom of the A-pillar, which is really straightforward. I'm going to get this piece of panel work in first. That was reasonably straightforward. Next up, let's go for the bottom piece down here where the bracket is for the bonnet latch. Now I should I think, be able to put this all back in here now. That's all nice and neat in there. There's no tools left behind. So let's get that one back up in there. Let's get some light on the matter. I'll stick the camera in here for you so you can get a better view of what's going on. There we go. Now then, this one goes in this way round. There we go, pretty simple. Which piece was this? There we go, it's the T20. Right, let's just check that that still works. Yep, perfect. Right, now the slightly tougher bit here, I think, is going to be working out what to do with a quite enormous amount of cable work. Now I recognise that Nextbase probably want to give you more than you'll ever need rather than accidentally undersupply, but nevertheless it's absolutely tons. I've probably got about 6 feet plus of additional cable here. I think the easiest thing I'm going to try and do is cable tie it. I've got myself a couple of different size cable ties up here, so we'll zip them together and see if I can do a reasonably tidy job of getting it all down in this corner. Right, let's get this one down here. Now if I cable tie here, I'm just going to put one small cable tie. I've got a little white one here. It's only as big as it needs to be. If I can just cable tie that down there to start with to try and keep that bit neat. Right, that is not catching anything in there, that's good. Now the rest of it I'm going to try, if I can, to fold it back on itself and bunch it up. I mean, there's just way too much there. I'm never going to be able to get that. Never going to get that. Oh, down in there. That's just ludicrous. What can I do here? Hang on. Let's think about this logically. Although saying that, I think... Let's just see if I can get lucky here. Hang on. Let's just see if there's enough room and enough play in there. It's not interfering with anything. If I cut the end of that cable tie off for starters, that doesn't need to be that long. Oh, that's gone down in the air vent, but never mind, we'll work about that in a second. Let's just see randomly whether that will allow me to put this back on. Do you know what? It kind of is, actually. Hang on a minute. Let's get this. I can get that in. Astonishingly, that fits beautifully. It's in. Great. It's snug, but it's fine. Let's get this screwed back in again. Where are we? And that is, I think, rather neat. It just hides up underneath. It's beautiful, there's no cable coming out there whatsoever. Down the back it then comes out through behind here and into behind the job there. So let's just check it again, make sure that we are fully working. Right, here we go. Let's key in, ignition on. We have blue light, red light, and power. Hey presto. That takes a still image. And if I want to record this segment, 2-minute segment, I press the button and it locks it in. Perfect.